I mean what I say when I say it.
Joe Biden was caught on tape yelling at civil rights leaders during a post-election meeting. Now, this was broken by Ryan Grimm at The Intercept inside Biden's meeting with civil rights leaders. In a recording obtained by The Intercept, Biden was unenthusiastic about executive action and warned against police reform before Georgia's Senate runoffs. Now, I'm not going to, get into all the details here. I'll link to the piece below the video, but this is... It shows you that Biden is using the exact same strategy that Democrats have used for decades. Basically, instead of being proactive and putting your own message out there, they are simply being reactive and afraid of what Republicans might say, preventing them, or at least he's using that as an excuse, preventing him from actually putting any real action forward. Now, before I get to the actual clip, or one of the clips from this piece, just a little bit here to set it up. On Tuesday, a group of civil rights leaders urged him privately to take a slew of executive actions during a 2-hour virtual meeting. While Biden didn't close the door to anything specific, he was far from enthusiastic about the idea of using executive action. A recording of the virtual meeting, attended by Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and civil rights leaders, was obtained by The Intercept. So let me get to, there's several excerpts from this. You can go to the full piece to listen to the whole thing. But let me give you one here of this is Biden's entire demeanor during this call.
A lot of people in our community are getting a little anxious because they are not seeing enough of the progress they thought they would have seen at this point. Let's not disappoint them, and let's not get to a place where voters in Georgia begin to second guess.
Okay, let me respond. I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I'm the only person who's ever run on 3 platforms that I was told could not possibly win the election, and I never ceased from it. One was on restoring the soul of this country because of what I saw happen in Charlottesville. That was it. No one else was talking about it. The words of presidents matter. Nobody else, no progressive, was talking about it. I did.
No progressive was talking about Charlottesville? Now, before I get to some reactions to this clip, I have no issue with the approach, with this forceful approach. I have no issue if you are actually fighting for people. But Biden, his whole demeanor here is simply a reaction to criticism that he is not doing enough. So instead of using this kind of forceful approach, say, against Republicans who are continuing to put out bullshit about what Joe Biden represents, or put out bullshit about things like defund the police, instead he is saving that energy and that anger for people who are otherwise supporting him. And again, this is the failed Democratic strategy of always being reactive to Republicans and being only proactive when it's against suppressing their own base. Now, some reactions to this clip here. This was posted by Austerity is Theft. Says Joe Biden, the only candidate who noticed and dared to run on what happened in Charlottesville, was bad. And of course shows examples of other candidates discussing Charlottesville. Really not, I mean, this should be obvious, but in case it wasn't obvious, of course, practically everybody, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke, Andrew Yang, I'm sure everybody else that ran for president also discussed Charlottesville. And yeah, so I don't even know what Biden's talking about. I mean, that he's just, and it's, look, I'm not sure if there's more to that part of the discussion, but people have to push back, whether privately or publicly. You have to push back on claims like that. It is such obvious bullshit. If anybody, imagine if Bernie Sanders said that. I was the only guy that ran on Charlottesville. Nobody else ran on that. Can you imagine the freak out on CNN, MSNBC? People will be like, "What? Bernie Sanders has gone crazy. He's nuts. We got to push him out of the Senate now. He's too old." Yet Joe Biden claims he's the only one discussing Charlottesville, and crickets. Now, there is a little more here. Oh yeah, more reactions. Libby Watson here tweeting out saying, I mean, like everyone who got mad about how Bernie yells because he's mad about poverty. Biden here yelling at activists because he thinks he's the only guy who had the courage to run on Charlottesville. Luke Savage here tweeting out, Biden has been like this all along, instinctively hostile and angry when activists don't show the appropriate deference. The narrative about his deep compassion and personal decency has been a cover for his donor-friendly agenda since the primaries. Simple as that. And Hanukkah Solo here tweeting out, this is deeply upsetting. Biden completely losing his temper when gently pushed from the left. The way he shut down critique as irrational, the way he demanded loyalty, the way he staked credit for the work of others. He sounds a lot too much like Trump here. Scary shit. Completely agree. Now, a little more here from the piece on, this is in relation to Bernie to Biden talking about defund the police and how he's against it. The article says here, Biden made his comments unprompted, referencing an early remark made by NAACP President Derek Johnson, who had warned that appointing Tom Vilsack to be Secretary of Agriculture, which he is now, thanks to Biden, would anger black farmers in Georgia, as well as black voters generally in the state, for whom Shirley Sherrod was a hero. Sherrod was fired by Vilsack from her position as Georgia Director of Rural Development for the U.S. Department of Agriculture during Vilsack's previous tenure as Agriculture Secretary during the Obama administration. Her firing was quickly revealed to have been a mistake and based on an incomplete airing of a video by the late conservative provocateur Andrew Breitbart. Particularly in Georgia, Johnson noted Vilsack's capitulation was still a sore spot, and nominating him would be disastrous electorally. Quote, if you consider the victory that you appreciated in Georgia, it was around 12,000 votes. And so as you consider appointments, you also must consider what impact that would have on voters in the state of Georgia. And I will submit to you that former Secretary Vilsack could have a disastrous impact on voters in Georgia. Shirley Sherrod is a civil rights legend and hero, Johnson said. So you have here, look, we're not talking about far left Antifa here talking to Joe Biden. These are just civil rights leaders in Georgia, and they are being critical of having Vilsack in the position that he's in because of what Vilsack has done in the past and how voters in Georgia feel about him. And still, Joe Biden responds about how he thinks defund the police is actually worse, or is more destructive, completely ignoring this whole criticism of Vilsack. And as you've seen, Vilsack is in fact put into the very position that they told Biden not to put him in. Now, one reaction to this from Ryan Cooper. Well, you see, we must have the deep experience of Tom Vilsack, best known for making $1 million a year as a dairy lobbyist and firing an innocent black woman on the orders of Andrew Breitbart. Again, it is almost comical how much Democrats, moderate, or I should say conservative Democrats like Joe Biden, how much they care about what the GOP say, compared to how much they don't care and are actively fighting their own base. So this is showing us right now that if you expect anything or want anything to get done under Joe Biden, it's going to take nothing short of a general strike to have any sort of substantial change.